Hey guys, I've been contemplating how I'm gonna make this video. Um, I want to introduce myself as Guided Intelligence, and I want to tell you the struggle of change, and it's not easy. It's it's difficult, and I understand what it is to be difficult. Um, Many of you know a lot of my story in segments, but when you see it, it's just a chapter. It's just a percentage in my story. My story has many chapters, and as you get to know me, I will explain to you in those stories. When I help serve people, I share my stories. And I use stories to help people overcome and persevere. They're always relatable. A coach needs a coach, therapist needs a therapist. Sometimes coaches don't have coaches, sometimes therapists don't have a therapist, sometimes they don't have a shoulder to lean on. Just like some of you guys. And, sometimes there are breaks in a chapter. And I have a huge break in my chapter. And it's okay. So, my partner and I, we've checked out. And it's okay. There's not one person to blame. There's not fingers to point. If someone chooses to do that in the midst of pain and suffering, before realizing and taking time to breathe, taking time to grieve, you're only digging yourself a deeper hole. There are people out there that are going through far worse than what you're going through or what I'm going through. So, Christmas was spent separated. New Year's is going to be spent separated. But the pain and suffering is what will make you or break you. The pain and suffering is not going to break you. It can make you who you want to become. It's how you channel that energy and challenge yourself. I know some people want to know what happened, right? Some people are waiting for me to blame, right? Or have resentment. There are always two sides to the story. I checked out. I'm a conscious creator. I could have co-created. I could have created a new reality. I should have, I would have done so many things different. And in her own right, she could say the same thing. I can speak for her. I can speak for myself. There's always several perspectives. The fine line and the root of it is it's growth. Sometimes you need to go through disruption in life. Sometimes we need to go through some of this. And it's gonna be okay. You know, I realized how do you change? I realized it. I happened to stumble upon self-realization. And if you start to go within, meaning you don't have the answer, something keeps coming your way, a karma cycle, these patterns keep happening, and you want to change it. Take it from me, somebody who has created and destroyed things, who endeavors through it, perseveres through it, wakes up through the pain and suffering, shows up through the pain and suffering. Take it from somebody who has also died and has come back, consciously aware, entered the pain and suffering to help you through my pain and suffering. Here's a story. I was 23 years old. This was right after my car accident, right after going through my near-death experience and going through severe turmoil and pain and injuries and brain damage and bleeding in my brain. I don't know if I had broken ribs, but I had a collapsed lung. I had a brachial plexus, which is severe nerve damage to your T1 and C5 and all that. Completely paralyzed on the right side of my body. Numb, tingling sensation right into my brain, in my tongue, in my heart, in my bones, everywhere, in my muscles, in my nerves, and everything. And I was attracting, but I was learning life through my pain and suffering. So I was accumulating more tests, lessons, and karmas because I have not known how to rewire my cycles and patterns. So these karmas would happen. I was attracting court cases, police officers, drinking and driving. I was attracting, child support, and I was attracting this while I was in crutches, while I was in a wheelchair. I was attracting a 7-year criminal record. I was attracting losing my license and having to pay fines and fees and emergency protection order against me, criminal assault charges against me, charges from the past when I was 18 years old coming up to haunt me, of criminal charges with bodyguards or whatever at a strip club, files that were closed that came back up when I was arrested for jaywalking. They took me straight to jail for 3 days. I laid on the floor. I was in holding cells every week for 10 to 12 to 14 hours each. I was attending in front of judges, pleading my case every time. I was going through so much all at once. And I was never thinking why. I was not asking myself what's going on. I was always blaming and resenting and judging and prosecuting and justifying and protecting, being the victim. And then it suddenly came to me. Why is this happening to me? And I would listen to the whispers. I would ask, how do I change this circumstance? Why does this keep happening to me? And instead of, I was always receiving notices from police, from the government, from prosecutors, from judges, from the welfare, or not welfare, but what do you call those people? Child support, warning me, scaring me, making me nervous, threatening me. I had to confront an interrogation. Police officers were trying to hunt me down and contact me to interrogate me while I had brain damage. They wanted to charge me. So many things in my life were just accumulating. I was getting mail and I would look at it like, oh no. And I would project images and thought processes and feelings, and I would dwell. So all my lessons I've been teaching over the years, I'm telling you right now, this is what it is. This is how you change. Instead of creating a thought right away of what I didn't want, because as I was doing that, more was happening to me. More of that stuff was happening to me. Broken relationships, because I kept asking why. Why is this happening to me? Without thinking and listening to the whispers. I would just keep affirming it and creating it, feeling it, thinking it, co-creating it, imagining it, thinking of the worst, thinking of what I don't want. That's what we do. Stop thinking of what you don't want. I started to think of what I wanted in the midst of the pain and suffering. Before I knew who Bob Proctor was, Tony Robbins, before I knew Thich Nhat Hanh, before I knew Eckhart Tolle, before I knew Jay Shetty, before I knew any guru, before I knew Wayne Dyer, anything. The Secret, I didn't know nothing about anything. I was destruction. I was destroying everything. No wonder I was catching pneumonia. I was getting sick. I was getting disease, inflammation. I wasn't healing myself. I had to go in for brain surgery. They had to drill a hole to drain out the accumulation of blood buildup. Blood clots throughout my body was coming up, showing up. I had to go on blood thinners. I had private nurses coming to my home every day injecting me with blood thinners. I was in crutches and wheelchair. And so I changed my mindset without even having guidance, without having anyone teach me or tell me. I just started to question myself, why? Without saying, why is this happening? I would say, why? And listen and just wait. What do I do to change? And I would wait and listen. I would get my own whispers inside because you're repeating it. You're doing it again and again and again. You're not changing. What is change? And I would wait, I would listen, and I would rewrite all the mistakes. I would rewrite all the broken relationships, all the imaginations, all the things I've ever created, all the cycles and the patterns and the karmas, and I would do a replay of it all. Like, oh my God, I keep projecting this. I keep creating this. I'm creating it. I felt it. I either thought it, either wanted it, expected it, doubted it. So I challenged myself and I said, I want this to be zero. I want this to stop. I feel like this is a blessing. Instead of receiving mail like a curse, I would change my feeling like it was a blessing. In the midst of my pain, everything I just mentioned. That's what God wants from you. That's what your God, you, whatever you want to call it, energy, spirit, soul, purpose, awareness, conscious, divine, thought, subconscious, synchronicities, coincidence. I changed the messaging to it all. And that's what it is. And I said, why? And I changed my thinking to, I want this to be zero. I feel it, I believe it, I created it, I imagined it. How is it going to be zero? I visualized and I saw the judge see me for me because I raised my vibration to that frequency of the reality, not aggression, not a victim, not angry, not upset, to the truth. And I portrayed myself to be the truth. I'm legitimately fighting for my life here. I'm legitimately going through what I'm going through. I'm working hard. I'm fighting. I'm proving in front of the board, the founding board of the license. And I spoke my truth to them to get my driver's license back so I could drive my kids, so I could meet my kids, so I could see my kids that were taken away from me. And it was granted. Your wish was my command. And then I said, I'm fighting for this. I'm in crutches. I'm in a wheelchair. I have blood clots going on, and I'm not being a victim right now, but I'm trying my best. But I love you, and I appreciate this, and I send love and forgiveness, and everything's a blessing, and it's a lesson to me, and I'm going to learn through my lessons. I'm going to grow, and I'm going to change through my lessons. A few weeks went by. Another mail came in the mailbox, and I opened it and it said zero. And that's how you channel your pain and suffering to surrender, to believe that you can do it. You have the power to do it all. When we die, we don't get to take anything with us. When you die, you don't get to take your kids, your spouse that leaves you anyways, that throws in the towel, that gives up, doesn't want to do it anymore. Because it's a journey, right? It's not easy for everybody. You can't blame them. You have to love and forgive them. You have to understand that it's also their journey. Right? So you can't throw the finger and blame. Although we're in this physical world, of course I have those thoughts. Of course I have those feelings. Of course I do. Of course I want to go in my head and justify and make believe ideas and thoughts without even truly knowing the depth of it, right? We all want to do that. But to change, you gotta change from within. Change you, change your thinking, change your feelings, change your frequency, change your identity, change your character. Remember where you came from. Turn that mud into a flower. Grow something out of this. And you got this. You can do it. I'm gonna turn this off now before this computer shuts down from all the energy going on here. Have a blessed day.